Hoy en día, cerca del 65% de la población mundial habla más de un idioma. Lo que es más raro de esta proporción es que en el país en el que residimos solo se promueve un idioma. Obviamente, el inglés. Ahora, estoy consciente de que estoy hablando en español, pero lo hago con un propósito, para que aquellos que no comprenden el español puedan experimentar lo que se siente cuando no estamos en conexión con lo que se está diciendo. For those of you that do not comprehend Spanish, how did that feel just now? Did you feel lost? Confused? Did you, perhaps, feel that you were at a bit of a disadvantage because you were not part of the conversation? Truth is, the United States promotes English only, yet we're a welcoming nation. As we expand into a global society, and a society that expands across languages, Americans should be learning more languages as well. If not, we're going to be left out of global conversations. All across the world, different economies in different countries are looking at the expansion of multilingual citizens. More and more countries want to have more multilingual citizens because it helps their economy and it helps them build connections between different countries. Take the European Union, for example. If you live in the European Union, you will learn 3 languages. You learn your native language, and if you happen to immigrate or migrate to a different country, you learn the other country's official language, plus English. And if English is already one of those 3 countries, those 3 languages, then you learn a 3rd language. The Eurozone is pushing for trilingual students, not because they just want to have people that can speak different languages, but because they know that it is needed in today's global markets, in today's global economies. Let's bring it down to the United States and take a look at our current population. In the next section, I'm going to speak about the constant immigration to the United States, because we are an immigrant-receiving country, and we have always been so. I'm going to speak to you about the bilingual programs that we have and that we offer our students and our incoming immigrants, and the impact that we have on that global economy and the global connections that we're building. Let's begin with our US immigrants. The United States is built up of immigrants. We have constantly been receiving immigrants all throughout the history of the United States. Many of these immigrants come into our country speaking a first language of their own. They speak the native language of the country from which they came from. But when they get here, they're faced with the struggle of having to learn English and many times having to forget that native language. Are we really a welcoming nation if we are forcing our ideals and our language onto people and not allowing them to maintain their native language? We have bilingual programs for all of the students that come into our schools because we want them to learn English. We want them to succeed here, which is great. We need English. However, some of these bilingual programs have particular objectives that do not allow the students to learn or maintain their first language. One of our most popular programs is the Transitional Bilingual Education Program. The Transitional Bilingual Program allows students to learn English, but through the process, they're forgetting their native language. It becomes a subtractive model of bilingual education because students are able to gain a second language, which in this case will be the English, but they forget that first language. That first language is subtracted from them. And they go through the program, and as soon as they're ready to go to all English instruction, they move on to an all English classroom. Now, this doesn't happen for all of our students. There is a 2-way immersion program that is also out there. And little by little, it's starting to catch on. The benefits of a two-way immersion program are that students are able to learn English while maintaining their first language. And this goes both ways. Monolingual English speakers are also given the opportunity to maintain their English and acquire a second language. Most two-way immersion programs are composed by taking into a classroom half of the population being monolingual English speakers and half of the population being speakers of a second language or another language. Instruction is presented in both languages to all of the students. And by the time the students reach their elementary graduation, they're proficient in both languages. Now, there are some misconceptions that people have about this program. Some monolingual English parents say that they don't want their students to be taught in a second language, let's say Spanish, because that's going to later lead to a deficit in their achievement scores. However, research by Virginia Collier and Wayne Thomas has shown that two-way immersion programs actually help students that are monolingual English speakers. They develop more cognitive abilities as they go from translating and from using both languages in the classroom. Not to mention the benefits that they're going to have later on once they finish the elementary school. Another misconception by many parents that are actually immigrant parents is that if they do not place their students in an all-English setting, the student's not going to gain the English language. The same research by Virginia Collier and Wayne Thomas tells us that that is false. Students in the two-way immersion program are able to maintain their native language as they come in. And they're able to develop English fully. They even outperform monolingual English speakers in standardized tests. So there's a lot of benefits to that two-way immersion program. And then we have the global connections. The students finish school, they go into high school, and then after high school, onto the world, right? When you come into the world and you can speak two languages, right off the bat, you have an advantage over someone that only speaks one language. You can communicate to people from a foreign country. You can relate to people from a foreign country. And if you go into economy or anything pretty much that has to deal with cross-national economies, you'll be using both languages. And you have access to those resources and to the people and to the feeling, that perspective of being able to communicate with someone else that a monolingual English speaker does not have. So if we have these programs of bilingualism, why are we not implementing them? Why are we not pushing them? Think about this. In today's day and age, it is a second-rate education to be graduating from high school speaking only one language. As I said, many countries around the world are expanding the languages that they teach their students. And as we receive immigrants into our schools, we say, all right, you got to learn English. Here's the English textbook. Learn English. They forget that native language. But then by the time they get to high school, we say, you should learn a second language. Take foreign language classes. And then they go on to college. You need 2 semesters of foreign language classes. Learn a foreign language. If they're already arriving in our schools speaking one language, why not develop it? Why see that as a deficit instead of a benefit that if we fully develop, they'll be better off later on? And not just on their own. They'll also be bringing back resources to our communities, into our nation. Now, existen muchos programas que ayudan para promover el desarrollo de 2 idiomas. I say that in Spanish again for you to remember that feeling of being lost, that feeling of not knowing what's going on. I come up here to present my talk, and I'm speaking in a foreign language that you do not comprehend. Right off the bat, you're thrown off. This is how many Americans feel as they go out into the world and they go to a country or they meet up with people that do not speak English. We're at a loss. So there are programs that can provide the opportunity for students to develop 2 languages, and possibly even 3. And the truth is, we can advocate for bilingualism. We can advocate for multilingualism. And these programs can be implemented in our schools and help our children. Now it's on you. What's your role in making this happen? Gracias.